Over the past decade, the Gujarat government has been successful in further harnessing to its intrinsic vibrancy to transform Gujarat into India's most economically dynamic state. Still, rather an unexplored territory for Thai investors, Gujarat is one of the most preferable destinations for foreign direct investment to the country. The attractiveness of the emerging global business hub is due to the fact of the business-friendly environment, ample power supply, and solid infrastructure, among other factors. Energy efficiency is also a big push in India, with much progress being made in the solar power panels. With stronger fundamentals reserved in Gujarat, it obtains a large domestic market and is going to be India's fifth largest consumer market by 2025. That's not all. The state also has a large reserve of skilled laborers and third largest in scientific and technical manpower in the world.
Well, I would say that a whole range of infrastructure projects is where the government is putting a lot of emphasis. So you have massive investment schemes and favorable government policies in the road, railway sectors. A lot of these also in the power sector. The government has privatized and decoupled. So on the renewable energy side, the solar and photovoltaic have a lot of opportunities. You also have private players' role in providing equipment in different segments of the power sector. You can also compete, as many players are doing, in the transmission, distribution of power, collection of revenues, supplying of electronic meters and so on. That's one big sector. Food processing is a very major sector in India where there is enough opportunity for all different sizes of players. The government is also planning to bring in multi-brand retail into India fairly soon. So the consumer durables and fresh fruits, products, milk, dairy, that whole segment is quite open. Fishery, meats. Chemical sector remains strong. IT and IT-enabled services remains a very strong, very vibrant sector. Some of the world's largest auto players from Japan, Korea and others are working. Germany now wants to come into India. The auto component training, component production, systems, R&D, all of this sector is one of the fastest growing in the world and will actually become one of the world's largest very soon. That remains a good promising area for work. A whole range of, about 75 of the world's largest multinational companies are doing their research and development work in India. And more than 200, almost 250 of the Fortune 500 companies are also doing production out of India. So once you have companies investing in the infrastructure sector, and some states are now becoming power surplus states, so the power situation will keep improving in the next 5 years. And that plus road and rail connectivity gives you the basic infrastructure for not only doing high-end R&D work, which in India is cheaper because of the large and cheaper manpower, technical manpower. So you do R&D in India and then you produce out of India for the Indian market and also for third markets, which is also what a lot of companies are doing now.
Apart from the promising benefits of investing in the infrastructure sector, India also plans to further improve connectivity with the ASEAN countries under the +3 framework. Particularly the cargoes and shipping sectors, as the government aims to uplift logistics and cargo handling practices to an international standard.
India had about 10 years ago built a road into Stillwell Road. And right now what they're working on is India, Myanmar, Thailand highway connectivity, which will be done fairly soon from the Indian Northeast. India, as you know, has a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the ASEAN countries, and it's part of the ASEAN +3 framework. With Thailand, they will conclude this year a treaty on investment in goods. India is similarly moving to do a same one on in services sector. So you have this framework of India-ASEAN connectivity. In fact, this is the year when they are celebrating 20 years of India-ASEAN, and a whole range of events are planned in Delhi in December, but also investment roundtables in each of these countries, a car rally, a ship expedition. Myanmar is a place where not only expatriate Indians used to have large tracts of land and business, and they are rekindling those contacts, But the new openness of the Myanmarese government is exciting to India. It is a strategic location. It's also a great place for timber, forest, and many other resources. So India looks to Myanmar to once again rebuild that partnership and come out into Thailand and into Southeast Asia. So a whole range of opportunities in that sector. Well, the government usually does not differentiate between foreign and domestic players. It tries to create an even playing field. So any operational constraints or challenges in corporate tax or tax filing, the government keeps doing away or removing those challenges. It also has incentives for green technologies, energy efficient technologies, and a whole range of incentives for energy efficient production. There are incentives that states offer beyond the central government in terms of incentivizing low corporate taxes. In India, the customs duty and tariffs, which used to be very high 20 years ago, are now down to about 7 to 10%. The peak import duty is only 10.5%, and they're committed to bringing it down to the ASEAN level, which is 5.5% in the next 3 to 4 years. Each year it's coming down. So it's trying to create, as I said, a level playing field. Within energy, as I said, special incentives in the solar energy section, in the photovoltaics, and in each of these segments you have investments built into the actual contracts in terms of financing, the rates of interest, the external commercial borrowing through which you can access foreign capital, intellectual property protection for technology that you bring in. So it's across the sectors that you're creating an investor-friendly environment. In some cases, to keep in mind that infrastructure projects across the world have a long maturity time. They take 5 to 7 years, depending on the size of the project, for investors to recover their money, start to break even. In India, it's no different, and so investors have to stay there for this period. But you do have options of exiting after you've made some money in the first 2 years. That is also built into the scheme now, so easy exit policies. The government is working to create infrastructure debt fund and more easy access to financing. You should have a good local partner, a good legal team in India to understand both your own legal systems and the Indian system. Sometimes you will always see your problems addressed in India when you take it to the courts. The courts do have a very well established system of jurisprudence and rule of law, but given the size and the volume of demands of cases, sometimes it takes longer, so you have to be prepared for that. Have a good attorney to work out your contract negotiations with the labor side of things. Look at the registrar of companies and land records to see that you have a clear claim on your title. Those kinds of things. These are basic do's and don'ts of good business practices. No more difficult or different in India than other places, but you have to customize always your business strategy, find a good Indian business partner who has established network of local suppliers and places where he wants to sell. You have these practices and a good business proposition. If you run into challenges, you can turn to agencies such as mine and many others that exist across the country. And if you don't have things addressed by these agencies, then you finally have the government and the court of law, which will almost always rule in the favor of rule of law. So justice may be delayed sometimes in India because of the volume, but it's never denied.
And that's all the time for today's edition of Towards 2015. You can follow us again on the Nation channel from 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you for watching us. I'm Mr. Korn Plot. สวัสดีครับ